Welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. I'm Scott.
And I'm Carl.
And this is podcast number 17. And what are we talking about, Carl?
We're talking about YouTube channels we like to watch.
We like to watch.
Yeah. And, you know, they don't have to be the super popular ones. They can just be ones that we get something out of. And it could be even flavors of the month for me. Like I switch from channel to channels. So
yeah, so definitely would be present day. But I will do some honorable mentions. People that we know.
Yeah.
That, you know, as well as ones that we used to watch and why we don't watch them now. Like, have they pivoted? Have we pivoted? That kind of thing. So, and next week, you guys leave a comment. We will read all the comments. If you guys leave a comment saying your favorite channel and why, or why you don't watch so on, or whatever, we'll read them. And that's going to lead us right into now. Carl, what are we doing now?
We're talking about how was your week?
We're gonna read the comments.
Oh man. See, this is we're all rusty today for some reason.
We're all rusty. We're all
okay.
I'm going to start off here with the first Spotify comment that we've had to deal with.
Not for me either.
No, you did leave a comment the one time, but this is an actual listener.
Wow.
And now I probably should have mentioned it last week because it is 8 days old. But I honestly, I don't think I noticed it until after we did our recording.
Right.
Because this one was on a podcast number 7 that we did called Sourcing. And I'm just going to say the first name because I don't know I don't know Spotify well enough to know if we should be mentioning the full name, if it's advertised, but I'm just going to say Morgan.
Okay.
So Morgan left us a quick message and just saying how she appreciated the insight on sourcing from storage units.
Oh,
so,
sweet.
Morgan, thanks for listening, and thanks for the comment.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, anyway, I think that's a big milestone for us, Carl.
Yeah.
We'll forever remember Morgan as our first Spotify comment, right?
From not us.
From not us.
By the way, I gave us our 5-star review, just so you know.
So I'm thinking, like, once we're big and famous, you know, we're walking down Hollywood Boulevard, we're always going to remember Morgan as our first podcast. I don't know, just a thought. Anyway, I know we're going to remember these two guys that we're about to talk to next because they're basically part family now. Randy, which is part family, I don't know. He's not in it this week. I don't know why.
You let us down, Randy. No, we're just teasing. We do appreciate it, but yes.
But our other two family members here have spoken. Carl, do you want to go with the first one here?
Sure. Doing it wrong. So when I was starting out, I'd watch a lot of folks that were more YouTubers than resellers. Basically, anyone over 100K subs. It wasn't a great learning experience. I had to learn from a lot of mistakes. It's a real disservice to the community as a whole. It's rather unfortunate that these are the people YouTube pushes. Yeah, he has the second part of the comment, but I just want to say, you know, I really like the smaller channels. Some of the channels we're mentioning are actually bigger ones, but a lot of them are, you know, a little smaller too. I think what really sells on YouTube doesn't necessarily is good information. It's more about rah. So I kind of agree with him there.
Well, you know, and I do agree with him. Another thing that makes these people bigger too is they really work hard on their YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I know it's a drag every day to get out there and put content out there, then edit it and everything else. Right. So I've tried it a couple times. I'm going to go back at it again. But when you're doing pre-recorded stuff, that means you are probably spending 3-4 hours a day between filming and editing that thing. So
it's a long time. Like, I stopped doing the channel, not because I didn't like it, just I got lazy.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot of work. And, you know, I've known some channels have gone from small to now they're quite large, and they had to change what their channel did because the audience changed, but also just what was working isn't necessarily what they started with, and that's fine too. They're still good people. It's just they had to change, right? Like, when you have a small community, you can talk back and forth and stuff like that. But when you have every video has 200 comments, you can't do that.
100%. But the biggest, because that's going to be a time suck as well. But it was just the commitment. Like, I appreciate those guys that have the bigger channels due to the commitment.
Yeah.
And the commitment creates more views, which in return can create YouTube to push them out further. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're good or bad. It doesn't mean they're the best picker or the worst. Like, I know a couple that I follow that are big or getting to be big channels, but they're amazing pickers too, right? So
yeah,
they're resellers. We'll get into that in a little bit, but
yeah,
it regardless of the situation, I completely agree with doing it wrong. And there's a lot of good pickers out there, but they don't have the content. And maybe I'm missing something that he knows, but as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of guys that might put one video out or once a week or a couple a month, and they're great pickers, and we're not seeing their full potential because they're busy picking and selling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so you're going to continue on here?
Yeah.
With,
from doing it wrong. For me, I usually gain the most knowledge from medium to lower popularity live streams and podcasts. There's a vast amount of reselling knowledge in the chat rooms. We can actually get responses from people 100%. I agree with that. I find, well, when I like the smaller chats because I also like kind of knowing the people I'm chatting with, but also, I don't really find the popularity makes a big difference on the stuff that they're talking about. You're going to get as good information from all sorts of these, popularity. So there's a bit more to his comment. Another thing that I've been leaning towards lately is newer resellers. Folks that have been doing it for maybe a year or two. You get a new look on how to do this business. And you also get to reinforce your own knowledge when you can tell someone why a thing does or doesn't work. Otherwise, they forget and make same old mistakes again. I'm the same way. It's funny. I'll even listen to myself, or I've even had to watch my own channel to remind me of stuff that I used to do and I stopped doing for whatever reason. And when people are new, they also might have new bolos that you just never thought about. Because one thing I find, especially for myself, is I fall into ruts. And when I'm on other channels, on your Sunday show, Scott sells stuff, or on Two Dogs Jigs channels for talking about solds, I was saying I don't always want to come on because it's I'm talking about the same stuff all the time because I've fallen into ruts. So when you watch a new person, something can get you out of that rut. Then he goes on to mention a few ones he listens to. Currently, there's a few Midwest channels I've been watching that are easy to watch. Grams and Pops Vintage. I haven't seen that one. Inked Picker. Nope. SSK Promo. That one I do watch. He does postcards. And of course, there's others like Shed Flips and Scott sells stuff.
Hey, all right, I got a little shout out there.
I heard of that one.
You know what? I appreciate that so much. Thanks. I like seeing Doing It Wrong, and we're gonna talk to Chop Chop, but I like seeing the regular people on the shows each week. And I'm gonna say this, and I've said this during my live show. I learned so much from doing my live show from the people in the comments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have guests on as well, and I have a regular sidekick, Adam, who had some great little hacks last week's show.
Yeah.
The train with the
batteries,
that kind of thing. Yeah. So I learned so much from doing the show that it's worth it. It's obviously the camaraderie, the almost like a family, like a big family. We see each other each week, and we come in there, and when we're chatting back and forth, the family aspects, social aspect is amazing. Probably the number one reason. But the number two reason is I also learn a lot of stuff from the people that are there. You know what I mean? And I never in a billion years will ever think I know too much. You know what I mean? I feel
about this. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Learning never ends.
I just feel I learn so much from people, and if I can share with them anything that I've learned,
the
trade-off's great. You know what I mean? So thanks Doing It Wrong for mentioning that. And I am going to check out a couple of these ones. Like I'm going to mention Cheb Frips later on, and I'll explain why. But I haven't seen Grams and Pops Vintage, Ink Picker, or SSK Promo. I haven't seen them, so I'm going to go check them out too. So, and just to let you know, so every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live show, Scott Sells Stuff, and we do this show here, Reseller Evolution, every Friday, and it's usually uploaded before or by 10 a.m. every Friday, and it's on Spotify and YouTube, and it's audio recording only. Scott Sells Stuff does have the video aspect because we show what we pick throughout the week, and we have a beaver round, bonus beaver round. So come see what that is. Anyway, anything you want to add before I go on to the Chop Chop?
No. Do you want to read Chop Chops?
Yeah. So Chop Chop also, he's like, you know how you say brother from another mother?
Yes.
Chop Chop's like a brother from another country because he's out in England, and he is dedicated by staying up late. I just love it. His comments are so funny through the chats. I think it's funny. He's awesome. Like, he brings a little bit of enlightening to the, well, Adam does too, but brings a little bit of enlightening to the conversation when we do the live show. So,
but yes, thank you, Chop Chop. I know it's like 5 hours difference. So when the show starts, it's already 1 o'clock in the morning there, and the show starts. So
yeah, no, and it usually runs an hour to 2 hours, usually an hour and a half, I guess. So I'm going to read this here from Chop Chop. As resellers, we are always learning. So improving my reselling is learning new niches, improving the knowledge on items so I can buy well. Even if a new niche idea fails, you find little gems of knowledge inside those niches.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Do I want to comment on any of this before I keep going? The realtor always improving my reselling, learning new niches. I think learning new niches is 100% the most, I would say, is the most important thing about watching YouTube channels, because you're learning new niches all the time. You know, would you agree?
Yeah, it's
right. Like, you're learning other areas. You're expanding your knowledge. And I think that's probably my most valuable thing about sitting down and watching resellers. So I'm 100% on board with that. Even if a new niche idea fails, you find that gems of knowledge. And yeah, and that's true too. Like, just because somebody bought something, like Lonnie, for instance, bought all those, and most of them are worthless, but he's showing which ones can be worth $200 to $500. You know what I mean? And that was a recent video. So 100%, there's definitely gems in those niches. Like, I tried book bundles. It failed for me, but one author sells very well, and that author stays in the business, and I move on to the next niche. Books are a little bit tough because there's so many out there, but they can be super valuable. You know what I mean? You can really make some home runs with some book. And the thing is, you usually get them very cheap. So
magazines are kind of the same way. There's magazines are totally, for sure, have no value, but they're picking up if you see. You don't have to know the whole category, but you can say, okay, like Black Belt. I sell a lot of Black Belt magazines, vintage ones. So it's like, I'll know that forever. I won't know all magazines, but you know, it's definitely true.
And now I have kind of a bit of a backup plan for my books that aren't going to do so well, is I can throw them into an antique booth, which I also operate. So they might not be worth your $50 to $100 to $500, depending on what book you have, but they might still have a $5 to $10 value. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or sometimes they could have a big value, but the condition, it's like, oh man, do I really want to put this online and risk? You know what I mean? I'll throw that book in for $10, $15 and it'll sell, but the person is looking at it and they know what they're buying before they walk out the door. So I kind of back myself up that way, but I like books. Anything you want to add to those, Carl?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it so much, guys. I look forward to the comments. So anybody want to leave a comment, we'll read them off the following week. So I'm just going to reply to these guys to let them know that I was paying attention, but they're going to know that we talked about it anyway. Carl, how was your week, Carl? How was your week?
How was my week?
Yes.
So I have good news and I have bad news.
Okay.
So for those hearing my whining story about my negative, for that VCR DVD. They revised it and they removed the negative.
Nice.
But I gave them money back and water on the bridge. So I went to check my feedback, and yeah, that negative is being removed. Is awesome. And I received another negative from someone else.
Oh no.
And it was like, okay, this negative is because I had to cancel a sale a while ago. It was like, 2 or 3 weeks ago because I couldn't find the item.
Okay.
Sometimes that happens, like whatever's being, like I searched a lot. I let them know right away. I gave them back their money and they gave me a negative saying person couldn't find the item. So I was like, oh man, I got rid of one and then just got a new fresh one instead. So that kind of sucked. And then this one was on me is that I sent someone like a transparency paper, for overheads.
Yeah.
And they bought 4 and I only sent them 1.
Oh.
Because I didn't realize there's a multi-quantity order. I missed that.
Right.
So that's not a big deal. I'll just send them to them today, but I won't make any money off of that because I'll have to pay for the shipping again, obviously.
Yeah.
And then so last week Scott calls me up. This Scott, and he's like, "Oh, Carl, there's these auctions." Because he's been feeling a little sad for me. I've been complaining about not finding stuff. So I bought a bunch of pinback buttons, which is fine. But when I went to pick them up, the person running the auction was late, like for the pickup. Like,
oh no,
over 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm sitting there and just steaming because it's like I went to a location for their auction. They're late to their own. Like, for one, they should be early,
right,
to be prepared. And oh man, I was like, I was not happy. I was kind of rude, I must admit. But they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, okay, just give me my shit. So that was my week. So I had a few bad things. How was your week?
Well, the booth is doing well.
Yeah.
We are slowing down during the week, but the weekends have been pretty strong, so that's good.
Yeah.
eBay has just been a horrible week. Now, a lot of that is my own fault because I've been super busy and I haven't had a chance to list in the last couple of weeks. Right. I got a lot of drafts ready to go. But, so this week I'll start listing. We'll see what happens. I did get a negative as well. And it could have been a lot worse because there was a dial missing on a clock, a Garfield clock that I sent. The guy says the clock is in great shape, very happy with it, but there's a dial missing. And I didn't realize there was a dial missing. But I look at my photos, the dials are, he says it shows clearly in the photos that it's missing, but I just wish that you would have mentioned it so I would have known what I was getting. But basically, I think I had to convert it from French to English because he wrote it in French.
Yeah.
So I got a negative. Sorry, I got a neutral. Not a negative, a neutral. So I was actually very happy that that's all he gave me because it could have been worse, right? Yeah. I just wish people would have contacted me first because I would have refunded them or give them a discount.
Yeah.
But I researched, I know the dial that it is. So it's a very small little dial. So I'm going to look at some clocks I got here and I'm just going to send it letter mail and I'll just post it to him. I think it was in Quebec because it was French. So I'm assuming Quebec.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to letter mail him this and hopefully it works,
Hey, at least it was a neutral.
And it was a neutral. Like I was lucky because I'm like, holy shit, what did I get a neutral for? What did I do? Everything was good. I haven't sent a whole lot out, and then I'm looking at it and I look at my pictures and then I went online and I looked at the other clocks and I'm like, oh my God, there is a dial missing.
Hey, what I mean? And that's going to happen. It's like, where I couldn't find the inventory item or I made a mistake in the shipping. I sent 1 instead of 4. Like, we're human still, right? That's going to happen. So,
well, if I would have known, if I would have noticed that there was a dial missing, I wouldn't have sold the clock because I got other clocks back here that probably have similar dials. It's just a wind up alarm clock, right? But
or you would have just put it in the listing. You're not trying to hide anything, right?
No, but I would have just grabbed one off another one and stuck it on there because it's just a little dial, right? Like they're a diamond. They're probably generic to all those type of clocks.
Oh, right.
Right. So, hopefully the size wise it works, but I'll mail it out to him. I never said this, I never committed to it. I never responded to it. I figured it's a neutral. I deserved it at minimum. It should have been a negative, but on the other hand, he should have just contacted me directly.
the danger is like if you ask them to revise it, they could switch it from a neutral to a negative too.
I'm leaving it alone, man. I'd leave it alone.
Yeah, it was actually shocking to me that I got a negative because I had refunded that person completely. I didn't know you could give a negative on a canceled sale, but it turns out you can. So,
I know eBay does not. They don't like they'll notch you themselves internally for having that negative.
Oh yeah, I got a double ding.
Yeah, like that's. I got to be careful that doesn't happen more than one more time. Like I've already done it once. I just don't want to ever do that again, right? So
it's just so hard seeing that stuff for a year. Like it's just annoying.
Well,
what are you gonna do?
I think mine happened in October or November. It was a pennant. It was an old 1950s pennant.
Yeah,
and I couldn't find it. So I think what happened is maybe I sold it on Etsy because I started cross listing around then. It is what it is, Carl. Anyway, what do we got? What are we doing on now? Like, we got to get back into our happy stance.
Yeah, I know. It feels like every week something horrible's happened to me. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm going to put out some new videos because we did a lot of revamping at the store. Yeah. I moved locations of my small booth into another location. I call it a small booth because it's my smaller booth, but it's still quite large. It's 10 by 18. So I've just moved to another spot that's the same, basically the same size, maybe a little bit bigger, but basically the same size. So yeah, so I'm going to start doing some videos. I want to start doing some pre-records and see what happens.
Awesome.
So without further ado, I guess what we're going to start doing now is getting into our show topic, which is YouTubers of reseller YouTubers that we watch. Carl, do you want to go first on that?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Two Dogs Digs. They're a couple in Toronto, Craig and Rick, and they've been doing it for quite a long time. I think they're like over 2,000 subs now, that sort of thing. And I go on their show usually once a month to talk about my sold, so I feel I know them. And what I really like is they're very active in their Facebook group. Oh, I should know the name of it. I don't right now. Oh, Canadian Thrifters. I'll have to look it up. Maybe I'll mention it when I'll sneak a look and say it in a minute. But they're very active in their Facebook group. They help out a lot of new sellers. They have a different niches than I normally do. So I find it's useful, like when, it's kind of good to see the stuff you pick up, but it's also good to see stuff that you would have no idea. So for example, last night they had a show, Thrift It or Throw It, which I really enjoy, which they go to a thrift store, they show pictures of things in the thrift store, and then they ask the people watching the show, would you thrift it or would you throw it? And almost everything I say that they pick up is like, oh, I wouldn't pick that up. Throw that. And the funniest one last night was like this wooden hand with a little child in it and a religious icon thing. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't even look at that. And it sells for $40 or $50, and they picked it up. So I really like the channel because, like I said, they're Canadian. So it's good to get that perspective. They're very active in their Facebook group, and also they're very interactive with their YouTube viewers. They have a show every week. And adding positivity to the reseller market is nice too.
I wonder if they would thrift it, or is it Thrift It or Throw It, you said?
Yeah.
How would they, with the stuff I get, I wonder what they would do. Thrift It or Throw It?
You know what? Like, I think they would pick a lot of the same stuff up. Like, for example, Rick is really good at seeing kind of the stuff that you're more into, like the crafty stuff, the rustic stuff, that kind of art.
Okay.
He's pretty good at that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Last night they were doing dishes, and I wouldn't not look twice at plates. But they found so many plates worth like 25, 30, $40 each. And that's American too. So
I believe they're in Toronto.
Yeah. And the name of the Facebook group is Canadian Resellers and Fantastic Thrifters.
So the fact that they're in Toronto and they mostly do thrifting, I would thought that a lot of what I sell they wouldn't even see. So I'm kind of just by being in the city alone, you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, they pick up, they'll pick up, like I said, plates. He was a Barbie collector, so he knows dolls and stuff like that. But they do a lot of pottery. They'll do like Christmas ornaments. They do a whole bunch. They're big into whatnot as well. They're into just everything, and they do estate sales a lot as well, and garage sales. So it's not just thrifting. Yeah,
I watch them every now and then. The fun watch. I would watch them too. It's just I kind of, and you're going to see through the people I pick. It's kind of people that live in similar areas that I live in. You know what I mean? Kind of,
yeah.
Kind of. I think that's what we end up doing at the end of the day. Was probably kind of falling in line with the people that live in areas that we live in.
I think that's smart. Like, yeah, and I think it's kind of smart. Like, they're from a thrifting background, and so am I.
Yeah,
they're also from Toronto, and Ottawa is probably about, I don't know, I don't even know, half the size or a third the size or something of Toronto, but still the same kind of market.
It's the same kind of market for sure.
Yeah, so we're gonna see a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, so,
but also, like I said, even with them, they're picking up stuff. Like they'll pick up linens and blankets and stuff like that I don't pick up.
Okay, yeah.
So
I'll pick up blankets for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my number one is kind of a tie with my number two, and I would say this is probably one of my more favorite shows to watch, but it's also kind of like it's just habit. They're going to pop up on my feed, and I'm going to watch them. You know what I mean? And it's Shed Flips. And I used to watch Lonnie a lot before, like now Candace is there, his wife. But I used to watch Lonnie a lot when he first started his show, and I thought it was really neat. You know, this guy, just picks kind of what I pick a little bit. He's more toy oriented than I am, but he had a lot of when I first started watching him, a lot of great ideas. I was new to the thing, so he did a lot of shipping and just how it's done, right? And then he got the shed instead of a storage unit. So I watched him kind of graduate. And then all of a sudden, one day I'm watching, and Candace quit her job, and she's doing it too. So, right?
What I like about him is he seems very down to earth.
Totally seems that way. They really just seem like a great picking couple, and I really am impressed at how fast Candace has caught on. Like, she's a natural. You know what I mean? Like, she's a natural researcher. She's a hard worker in listing, and she knows her stuff when she goes out picking. So that was really surprising to me. Like, I'm not saying because she's female. It's just she worked in an office job. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good female pickers out there. I'm not putting anything like that. It's just she would come on the show a little bit now and then and talk. But to me, it was more of, she just took it and ran with it and really had, other than maybe some exposure to it through Lonnie, it just seemed like she was just kind of throwing at it and just is this great picker now. So
yeah, they seem like a great couple to be doing this together,
and they complement each other in different ways through their picking. It's just really, really amazing to watch that. So I will watch Shed Flips as long as they're putting out videos, just because it's fun, it's entertaining. So it's like watching a episode of Little House on the Prairie. You just come home and you just watch it because it's enjoyable and it's a time to escape, and you're going to learn a little bit of stuff along the way. These guys do the same for that. It's just I come home, it's just like eating dinner. You eat dinner, you watch Lonnie and Candace, and I can't even watch it without Steph, because if I'm watching, she hears their voices in the back. She goes, "Are you watching them without me?" So it's become that embedded into our life. You know what I mean? So
that's cute.
Yeah, so it's fun for sure. Number two, Carl.
Okay, so my second one is Golden State Picker. So he's I guess he's might not be retired, but he's older. I think he's probably, what do you think, 60?
Well, he did retire for sure.
He did retire.
Yeah.
And he's in California. And what I really like about his stuff is he finds really good items. And he said part of the reason is that he's in California, so the opportunity is there. But I see a lot of the stuff he picks up, and we can pick that up here in Ottawa and Toronto and big cities as well. He's also business oriented, so I appreciate that. He talks about those things, and he's pretty positive person too. He's always encouraging people to try this, make a bit of extra money. He talks about some of the mistakes he makes, and one interesting thing he does is he buys these big, they're called Gaylords, which are these big boxes full of books. and I'm not sure quite how it works down there, but he'll buy the big box and he'll go through it and show himself going through all the books, where 90% of them are worthless. I guess I don't know what happens to those, and all the other ones he resells online. But then he just works out of his house. He just works out of his garage in California. He always has an amazing tan on. And he likes golf clubs, but he likes games. He likes electronics, and I do a lot of that stuff as well. So I highly recommend Golden State Picker.
Yeah, I watch Golden State Picker as well. One of the things I like about him, it's not clickbait titles. He kind of tells you, hey, this is the subject today. So there's sometimes, like when he does Amazon, I'm not going to watch those shows, but they're for other people, right? So at least I'm not investing time in going there and being disappointed. I like that. It's not clickbait. It's the opposite of clickbait. It's like, if you don't do Amazon, don't watch this show, because tomorrow I'm going to do books on eBay. You know what I mean? Which I like those episodes. So, so that's good for me. I really like his commentary. He seems to be very down to earth, and he's very intellectual. Like he can communicate very well. You know what I mean, with his audience.
He's business oriented, and I appreciate that too. Yeah. It's not just because some of the people, who do YouTube, I find they kind of just like buy and sell, and they don't really analyze what they're doing. But he's run businesses in the past, so he has that experience.
And you know what? And I think he's like us too, Carl, where we're young at heart. You know what I mean? We might, like, he's retired. I think he's pushing 60, and I'm pushing my mid 50s. But the picking aspect can make you younger too, right? Like it can make you feel like you're in your 30s. And I think he embodies that as well. You know what I mean? Like
he has the internal energy and enthusiasm still.
He loves the job. He loves what he does, right? And it completely comes off on screen as he's enjoying this, right?
And he also likes meeting and talking with other thrifting friends when he's out there. And that's actually one of the major aspects for me too.
Yeah.
When I talked to a few people just last couple of days, and they said, new people I met, and they said, I do this for social reasons as much as anything else, which is something people don't really talk about, but it's definitely something, especially for guys. Well, women too. I shouldn't say just for guys, but for guys, we can be a bit isolationist if we're not careful.
Yep.
And this gets us out there, out of the house,
especially when we get older.
Especially when we get older. Especially, it's true. So who's your number two?
So this is my number two guy, but he's kind of number one at heart as well. Like it's a really tough call. I put Lonnie and Candace first because Steph and I we do this together. And I won't miss this guy's show either, and that's Craigslist Hunter. And why do I say he's number one at heart? Because he actually saw our show, on the Sunday lives, when like a couple years ago, and he was watching us, and he came on our show. Like we had an open mic night, and he had come in before and done comments, but he actually came on the show. And we talked to him for about an hour. Yeah. And I've learned so much from him. And I'm kind of in a roundabout sort of way, probably modeling my reselling sort of after him. I mean, I got lots of, like I do an antique booth. I'm not going to go run a store and hire people. I just don't have that right now. But I have a brick and mortar kind of setting. It's with an antique booth. Yeah. I do pay commissions. I pay rent off that. But I really just truly enjoy watching him and learning. And, he's got characters on his show. He's kind of pivoted a little bit. I don't think I like the show anymore or any less by any means. It's just a different type of entertainment because mostly it's in store now. But I enjoyed his older stuff as much as this newer stuff. But it's all good. Like it's just... He really respects the audience and makes sure the content is good watching content.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that. I appreciate that he came on, and he's such a big channel now. He's almost 500,000 subs.
I remember him going on because I was on the show when he came on. Yep, and I said, okay, I'm gonna leave the show and just watch. It's like, how many times are you gonna get? You can get me on the show anytime, but Craigslist Hunter, Pete, that was special, and I I don't watch him as much now, but not for any good reason. It's just that, you know, we go on to different things. He doesn't like a lot of things. A lot of his shows are like, well, everyone knows Craig
Craigslist Hunter.
Pete. So I won't go into details because they probably know. But he does a lot of thing where people come in and negotiate, and I like that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's just, I mean, people who are listening are going to know who he is for sure because he's one of the bigger guys out there. But you know, he started off small little channel, and he's one of those guys that just kept pushing out good content. People gravitated. He was one of the earlier guys where there was less competition in the space.
Yes,
but let's face it, most of his fast 100,000 plus subs, like it probably got to 50,000 in the early stages, but now he went from 50 to 500,000, or a little less than that, but over 400,000 for sure. In the time where there was lots of competition, but that's where he's seen a lot of growth. So just a great guy, great show to watch, and I was so appreciative that he came on our show and stuff like that. So I even plan on some point going to go down and check out his store.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, just to do a video on it, and hopefully he's there and I'll see him. But you know, it is what it is. It's just good content, and one of those shows that you got to watch every time there's a new video. And when he goes on vacation, it's like, Pete, where's your videos? You know. Anyways, so number 3 for you.
So mine aren't in any order. This is the third one is a little different. Mailseum. So mail, MAILSEUM. And he's a smaller channel, and what he does is postcards.
Oh.
And what he likes is valuable postcards. And there's quite a few good people in the postcard category, like Popeye's postcards is really good. SSK that Doing It Wrong mentioned he's good at postcards. So he's just a little different. And what I like is the other day he was just going through and explaining how he values postcards. He spent the time to do that. He talks about ones to look out for. He's just one of those channels that like the quality and the information is there, and there's not a lot of BS, which I really appreciate. So, and you know, I enjoy postcards a bit too, so it's up my alley.
Yeah, I'll check that out. That's someone I didn't even know was there. So
yeah, I want to make sure I mention some names that we don't already all know. So what's your number 3?
Here's the number 3 that you might not know.
Okay.
Resell CNY.
I don't think I know that one.
Hillbillies. If me and my cousin were resellers and we did the job together,
right,
we would be these guys. These are us to a T. And they got a shed out in the backyard, but it's more than a shed. It's almost like a small barn. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a couple of the guys, one guy has cancer. He's going through chemo. The other guy he fought in Iraq. He was a veteran from that, and his dad was in the military. So we get into some of that. You know, he doesn't mention it too often, but the last couple shows he did. Right. They have a couple dogs in the background. One belongs to one, and the other guy brings it to work, and the dogs are playing in the background. So, you know, it's just completely what it would look like here. And but the barn is complete. It almost looks new, very clean. They got really neat cabinets and stuff that they store the stuff in, and they basically do what sold. You know what I mean? So they do. Maybe it's similar to Lonnie and Candace's in a way. I mean, it's completely different people, different personalities. But hey, this is what sold today. So they'll bring all the stuff out and talk about it. So a lot of fun, and just good down to earth guys. So really fun to watch. So yeah, Resell CNY.
Okay.
Number 4 for you, Carl.
So my 4th is George the Antique Nomad. So he's a bigger channel.
Yep.
He's been around for a while. I'm not sure. I think he's in Florida. I think it's
kind of all over.
He's all over. And I know he he runs an estate sales for people. That's one of the things he does. I like him because he's so knowledgeable. And what he knows is a lot of the classical antiques. So all the pottery, glass, figurines, art, that sort of stuff from the 1960s and earlier, 70s and earlier, 80s and stuff like that. And every time I don't watch him all the time, but when I do watch, I always gain information just from the wealth of knowledge he has. He often will also go to like antique malls and walk around and talk about all the makers and what to look out for each item, the prices that probably he could get, and sometimes he'll buy to resell. But yeah, no, if you like classic antiques, definitely check him out. Yeah, George the Antique Nomad. Highly recommend him.
I used to watch George a lot, and the reason I kind of stopped is because he, like, if he found that stuff out in the wild and was picking it up cheaper, I'd probably watch him.
Yeah.
But because he's going into a lot of antique stores, I just find that's not my style. And I'm not saying it's wrong or whatever, but I think if he was out at yard sales buying this stuff, I would watch him 100% a lot more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I find he's really good for knowledge.
He's good for knowledge for sure.
Yeah.
But I already feel, and I say this very lightly, but I already feel I have that by working in the antique by having a booth in the antique store.
Yep.
That I see a lot of that stuff, so my eye gravitates to that stuff, and I already have a price point. Even if I don't know the value of it, I'm within a price point. You know what I mean? And that's what I pick.
Yeah, that comes from experience for sure.
But George is great, and I would never ever and this is not a knock on his knowledge, because I think he's very knowledgeable. And I do enjoy it. I would watch it for sure. It's kind of like another guy that I'm going to give a shout out to, but he's kind of someone I don't watch anymore, and I'll explain that later. But because kind of the same thing. My number 4, and I know he can be controversial, but is Auction Professor.
Yeah.
Now, I may put him in the back burner as well as someone who I used to listen to, because I used to like his shows when he would talk about things and just kind of how the prices of those things are on eBay. Even if he's not selling them himself, it was almost like bolos, or like, hey guys, like some of these things are crazy prices, and
he made me money for sure. Like
me as well.
Stuff that I have found.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing on his show, especially his early stuff was really good. I don't care if he's going through eBay and showing solds that he hasn't personally had.
No, I don't care either, for sure.
It's like a lot of that stuff is stuff you can find, and I learned a lot from Auction Professor.
And he's also showing that, okay, he might have had it in the past and sold it, and now he's doing a show. So now he's saying, hey, like, I've sold these before. You guys might want to keep a lookout. So he might not have it now, but he's probably sold similar items to that in the past, right?
His old stuff is good. The only reason I don't watch him as much now is he tends to be a bit
negative
and repetitive.
Yeah.
And ranty. And
ranty, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's like, okay, I was just getting less. I'm sure there's still good tidbits in there.
Yeah.
But it's like I try to avoid negativity in this area if I can. And I found he went a bit that way. But maybe he's changed, but definitely check him out either way. He is definitely worth the time to check out.
So it's funny that you say the negativity, because we've talked about that in the past. It was negativity gives views. But honestly, I kind of think it might not, because a lot of resellers want to be they like what they do, so they want that positive energy. Yeah. So I think a lot of YouTube channels outside of reselling, the negativity sells, right? Like the sky is falling type thing. Yeah. That sells. But I think in reselling, I kind of don't think it does, because I don't want to hear that crap. Like, I don't care about the little bit of the market thing, but if I want to know about the market, I get to go listen to somebody that knows about the market. You know what I mean? As far as reselling, I'm there to look at things to buy and sell. What doesn't sell? What does sell? If you're going to go negative, it's what doesn't sell anymore. I'd listen to that. But yeah, a little bit ranty for sure. For sure. but the guy is knowledgeable. There's no mistaking that. And
I'm still recommending him for sure. Like,
yeah,
I would recommend him as well. I should say.
And I can think of the, the Muscleman, the Pink Matador. That was all because of him.
Yep. That's
right?
funny. Yeah, that's exactly what I found. I went to too, but
yeah,
a lot of things.
A lot of things for sure.
Yeah.
And he's very knowledgeable in toys, and I like it when he talks about toys, but
yeah,
really anything, pins, military. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and he gets credit for that, regardless if he's a little bit ranty. But that could start turning me off him because I just don't want to be in that headspace. I need to be positive, right? So,
yeah.
Number 5, Carl.
So this one's a little different, and I don't agree with him on everything. Jay Ride Flips. So he's a younger guy. One thing he talks about is the turnover rate for his items, and he's a little too obsessed, I think, with that. But sometimes it's good to listen to channels where you don't always agree with, just to make sure that you're still in the right ball game. And he really cares about the numbers, and he basically does most of his buys based on how fast he flips stuff. So he'll pick up things like sunglasses, which I don't touch really. He'll pick up things like I don't know, coffee machines, split them up. I appreciate that stuff. He's a younger guy as well, with the family, and he talks about he does remotes, which I'm really into, and stuff like that. And it's just a different channel. Like, it might not click with everyone, but I say give him a chance and check that out. So who's your 5th?
Someone near and dear to our hearts. He's an honorary Canadian, and he's the one and only Mr. Harry Humstone.
Oh yeah, Mr. Harry. I don't know. I have a little turf with him because I'm no longer first according to his rules that he made up. But I'll have to let that go because
I like Harry's. I like Harry's channel.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I was disappointed because what happens is I started going from my computer because I used to watch a lot of live shows, and now I go to my TV show. And Harry used to do a lot of live shows that I would watch, and now I watch a lot of YouTubers on my TV. For some reason, my TV doesn't bring his show up. I can sit there and watch 5 episodes in a row, but maybe because he's a smaller channel, I'm not sure. But it doesn't pick it up. So if I don't type in his name,
right,
it's not coming up. So now usually what I'll do is I'll be working downstairs and I'm going to go see what Harry's doing. So I've missed a few shows now and then, and I gotta really hone back into it. But his shows are awesome. I love his yard sales, his yard sale overtime. But I like his yard
sale overtime.
And he used to do a lot of cleanouts, so they had a great system. So they would
every time you'd ask him about that every single time. You're so jealous. I could see it.
Oh my god, for sure.
How do I get into this game?
Oh my god, for sure. And so he goes, him and his buddy there.
Yeah,
they get this gig where they get to go to the house and pick from the house before people actually do the clean out, which is cleaning it out, right?
Yeah, a lot of hoarder houses, from the looks of them, anyways.
Definitely, for sure. He hasn't had one for a couple of months now because they just haven't had the house. But Harry he'll do his own yard sales.
Yeah,
so we get to watch that, see what he's selling at the yard sale for how much.
He funny goes out too,
he always finds gold. Yeah. He always gets these great Facebook like pickups. Like the one time he picked, I don't know, maybe 30 milk bottles.
Yep.
And he had a chance to pick up hundreds of them. And I'm like, Harry, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? I would have been there picking them all up. And he even to this day says that he regrets that. He should have picked more out of there. But he picks.
The thing with him is he doesn't take himself seriously either, which is really nice. He's
not. Well, he works full time, so this is a part-time gig for him for sure.
Yeah,
but if he went full time, he would be really good.
Yeah,
he would do really well. So
I'm sure he's looking forward to that. He mentions it once in a while.
And he comes on our show probably once a month or once every 6 weeks. He's a guest, and always love to have Harry on as a guest. And I gotta get a system where his his videos pop up more. Like if I put in shed flips, like I don't even, if I turn on the thing, shed flips thumbnails are all over the place.
Well,
Craigslist hunters, but
Harry deletes his lives, eh?
he doesn't. I know if I don't catch them live, and he doesn't announce them ahead of time, so the lives are pretty much like by chance. But he still does a lot of pre-records.
Yeah, and like I said, he does funny stuff too. He'll make fun of himself or like ride around on a little child's bike or all that stuff. If you don't know Harry already, please check him out. It's a really he has a really good community too. His lives are funny. Usually, it's not even reseller related lives. It's like top 10 songs, top 10 candies, you know, movies you hated but learned to love, or whatever the topic is. He always has a good time. And he has beer. He has a beer, and then he has or he has a drink, I should say. I don't know what it is. And then he has timeouts, or 2 and 2s, he calls them 2 and 2s.
Harry's probably one of the guys I would have hung out with in high school. You know what I mean? We would have like he seems so relatable. So, anyways, Harry, if you're listening, we love you. I'll keep up the good content, and he's not really number 5, but I had to put the bigger ones out there and everything. But he's probably number 1, right? But I'm just saying the other guys are bigger. Your guys are going to know them more, but Harry's right in there too, and he's not lecturing about knowledge. He's learning along the way in some cases too. It's like it's just I feel very relatable to Harry. So
we feel we know Harry. Like you said, he's an honorable Canadian.
Yes, for sure. And he reached the top 5 today. The top 5. Like that's there's no real number 1. It's kind of like you got your top 5, and Harry's in that group. So all right, Carl. So I got a bunch of friends here. I consider them friends because they come into the chats on the show, but they're basically people that have YouTube channels that we've kind of connected with. Who do you have on that list?
So I have some honorable mentions. One of them is Paul, or Philly Flipper. His channel's blown up, but Paul's cool. I remember I used to go into his channel a lot for his lives, but now they're so big. It's like, it's one of those things you type something in the chat and zooms off the top. But Paul comes in and says hi once in a while. We do really like that. So yeah, I mentioned Philly Flipper. I'm just gonna go through all mine very quick. Another one I really like is Just in Time Flipping. He's hilarious. He's like, he's near Boston. He has the Boston accent. He has the whole thing going. He does tools. He does outdoor markets and stuff like that. Just in Time Flipping. I really like him. And the last one is Jackass Retro, who doesn't come in, but he does live shows almost every weekday, and then where he does his shipping. And I like going in there. I feel I know the people, and I like that channel as well.
Yeah, and I kind of classify, like, I'm going to repeat some because I kind of classify these YouTubers that I'll watch periodically because they have their own channel, but basically I've met them through YouTube, right? Like, I wouldn't know them otherwise, but we kind of communicate back and forth, and I wouldn't say regularly, but they either come in our show or I'll go into their show type thing and chat it through the chats. So I'm going to say Philly Flipper as well, and I know you said that one. And the other one you said was Just in Time Flipping. 2 great guys that I really enjoy their content for sure. I'm also going to include Tim over the years. He was a guest on our show once or twice, and a lot of fun. And he did a really good video the other day. I hope he does more of those. But they're kind of like bolos, and he was talking about coffee mugs. So that was really good, and he does a good job with it. Thrift on Fire, local boy. He's been on a couple of times. Jamie, awesome. He's really growing his channel a little bit too. Like he did the every day in February type thing. So he did a video, and that kind of pushed him. He got probably 300-400 subs in that month.
Yeah, but he really likes clothing and shoes.
Very consistent. He's now also opened up an antique booth, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out.
Yeah.
Chris Treasure Chest used to be on the live show. Also very knowledgeable in the eBay and thrifting. Tommy Bernard, I haven't seen him much lately, but he used to come on quite a bit, and he used to have a live show with Tracy. They did the Tommy Bernard show. That was a lot of fun.
Very supportive.
He doesn't do much of videos. What's that?
he's very supportive of small channels. I'll see him still pop in today, usually lurking in the background, and then all of a sudden he'll just show up. So
yeah, and he's given me some shout outs and helped grow the channel when he was doing some lives, and he used to come on. And probably I'm going to say Craigslist Hunter was introduced to our channel, and I'm going to assume by Tommy. If not, the reason he came on possibly had a lot to do with the influence of Tommy, because they were internet or YouTube friends as well, right?
I agree with that.
Yeah. The Crazy Card, he comes on the live show. He doesn't do much videos anymore, but some of the stuff he picks is phenomenal. Like he picks some really high quality stuff. And I'm going to give yourself, Carl, and Adam, Shipping Vintage, and I wouldn't have met you guys, and I know Adam because he lives 10 minutes from me. Jamie lives about 20 minutes from me, half an hour at most, probably more like 20 minutes. And Adam and I met on YouTube when I first started doing YouTube. He had a YouTube channel, Shipping Vintage, and he wore a hat one day, which was for a local thing. And I'm like, dude, are you from Simcoe? Like, it's the Apple place. That's
small
like
world.
down the road.
That's hilarious. Yeah. No,
yeah. And so he goes, so he had an antique booth in Waterford.
Yeah.
Which at the time the building was split in two antique booths. Now one antique store was purchased out and it's other stuff now. But that's where I was. And he was in the store that I'm in now. And so like we're like just one wall separating as far as antique stores, and we're like 10 minutes away from each other. But we met on YouTube. So anyways, funny little story there. But very knowledgeable channels I just mentioned there. And they're always great to see them in the chats as well. There's a lot of people out there that come in the chats, and I'm very appreciative of it. But these guys have channels, and we've kind of met them through the channels. That's why they're mentioned. I got a few past channels that I don't watch anymore that I can go through quickly. Do you have any of those, Carl?
Oh no. Bolo Buddies is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I have learned a lot off that channel too. I don't watch it as much. I don't know why. I'm at the point where I value community almost more than bolos and stuff like that. So Bolo Buddies has their own community and all that stuff, but I definitely used to watch Bolo Buddies a lot. I'm trying to think. You name one while I'm thinking, because I'm sure there's
I have a bunch here. I have probably about 10. Do you want me to go through them and then you can write some down? Okay, so one of the ones I used to watch a lot, and I really liked his channel, and he started out small, and just all of a sudden overnight seemed to blow up within a couple of months, and I think he's probably around 300,000-400,000 subs. Froggy Flips. I used to watch him because he picks a lot what I used to pick, and he used to film himself going to garage sales and stuff like that. I don't watch him anymore because he's pivoted. Show's still good. It's just not what I do. And he goes to like Comic-Cons or toy fairs.
Yeah.
And that's because he likes those old vintage toys. I like them too, but it's not realistic picking for me. It's kind of like you're a collector now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of a picker reseller, you're now a collector. So not my kind of thing anymore, but his old picking was right up my alley. Had some really, really, really good picks. Terminal 99. He picks old stuff. He's slowed down the channel. I just kind of quickly looked him up here before we started the show, and he did one about 9 days ago, but he hasn't done them for a long time. But when I first started picking and watching YouTube, he was one of my top guys I would watch. He's around 15,000 subs, and when I watched him about 4 years ago, he's around 10,000. So he went really quick, kind of veered away, and has stopped growing. Global Voodoo was another guy. He kind of pivoted a little bit and became more of a angry guy. Like he kind of became like YouTube angry, not picking angry. So I stopped watching him, but I used to watch him a lot. Nurse Flipper I used to watch. Taco Stocks. Again, these people have flipped from what they were doing. Old Curiosity Shop. His name is Scott as well. And he does a lot of glass, but he's very kind of niched. But again, very knowledgeable, but he's picking a lot of the same stuff. So after you've learned so much,
Yeah.
it just seems I don't learn anymore from him, so I stopped. Brass Armadillo.
Oh yeah.
I used to watch a lot of those guys. They
Yeah.
had the Gary guy was on there. I guess I hope he didn't pass on because he was an older fella, but he was really knowledgeable and I really enjoyed their show. Especially and there was a girl, I'm going to forget her name now because I haven't watched it for so long. There was a girl and a guy that did a show where they kind of talked a lot of mid-century modern stuff and related it to movies. And then there was Gary. So they had a couple different things going on within the Brass Armadillo. A lot of fun, but they've pivoted. He's quit or whatever, but I don't watch them anymore. And Commonwealth Picker, I don't watch him much anymore either. He's kind of pivoted. He's kind of went a different route. He kind of, I just, I'm not putting it down. You do what you got to do to get your channels, but I find his thumbnail topics are misrepresenting what he's actually going to talk about, and he kind of strings you along. Like, you know what I mean? I just don't like that. I don't like, if you're going to talk about a subject, then don't just say, oh, well, we're going to go do this first, and then we bring this back, and then by the end of the show, you're kind of disappointed because he really didn't answer what he was going to. And I don't disrespect that. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean? But I used to watch it a lot when he wasn't trying to, I'm going to use a nasty word here, but I don't mean it nasty, but I find it a lot more clickbaity. And it's kind of unfortunate because I really enjoy just his raw picking, his raw, just tell it like it is instead of all these clickbait titles and these, is eBay doomed and all this kind of stuff. It just isn't my cup of tea. I stopped watching them. You got any more there, Carl?
Yeah, I'm just looking through, like, it's funny, I'm going through all my subs and going like in past and past and past. I don't like there's a few other ones like I currently watch, like but it's like the $1 Million Peddlers. I really like them, but that's not from ones I no longer watch. I just can't even really remember. It's gone such a long time, and like you said, sometimes people's shows change because they have to change, and that's fine too. And everyone has their own tastes. I can't think of anyone else though. We should honorably mention. Oh no, they're on the East Coast.
Oh, Milford Station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come in once in a while and say hello. And
100%. I feel so bad that I didn't mention them, but
I'm sure there's lots we've forgotten.
I know. That's the danger about doing this, right? Because you're gonna offend somebody. But I mean, once we start realizing, we'll do another show like kind of similar to this, and then we'll probably add more people to it that we forgot. But it's you're kind of under the gun about before we start doing the show. We kind of that's when we start doing our research, and it's like, oh, frantically writing down names.
Oh, you speak for yourself. I do research before every show.
I just wing it. I usually
I know you wing it. It's like, oh, what are we talking about today?
I usually don't do any research. I just like, what are we doing today? Yeah, exactly.
So, Mr. Wing It, what are we going to talk about next week?
Oh, do we have a topic in mind, or
I don't know? You're so good at winging it.
Okay, so let's wing it. Okay, what are we going to talk about next week? Let's talk about things that we used to pick that we don't pick anymore.
Okay, that sounds good. Or things we stay away from now, maybe as well.
Yeah, like they were really exciting to
or things
to pick and find before, but now we just like I'm not going to touch that.
Or the market's changed, or like there's too many people picking it up. It's impossible to pick up that sort of stuff.
All right, there you go.
I reserve the right to maybe add something to that when the show happens, just so it isn't all negative, But
it's going to be positive. I'm making money now where I was losing it because I picked it. So now
there you go.
I'm saving money.
So I think that was a pretty good show. Is there anything you wanted to add before we close off?
Well, just if we did forget somebody for whatever reason, like we're trying to write this down quickly here. I apologize because I still find you all great. Like if I'm talking to you, you know what I mean? And it wasn't anything negative by any means. I enjoy people's content, and it is what it is. And we'll just keep on picking, keep on listening, and hopefully people keep on listening to us. That's about it. That's
great. Sounds good.
Anything? What about you, Carl? Anything to add?
Hey, I enjoy the community. It's almost the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
Smaller channels are great because there's a sense of community. Yeah, and that's it. I always look forward to everyone coming in on the Sunday night show to say hello. Yeah, that's it. Keep it positive. Try new things. Keep going.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Positive. Those are inspiration. You should be a motivational speaker right there, Carl. All right, buddy. And we'll see everybody next. Okay, so here's the rundown. We are on Spotify and YouTube. It is audio only, obviously on Spotify, but YouTube, it's audio only. Leave a comment either place. And we got a new video every Friday.
Yeah.
It's uploaded before 10 a.m. So Friday morning sometime. So by 10 a.m. we are on.
And we appreciate all comments. If you don't want your comment read out, just say don't read it out. We're not gonna don't be frightened to leaving a comment and you don't want to hear us talk about it. We appreciate it either way. Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Yeah, we're trying to grow this channel. So Reseller Evolution.
Excellent.
All right, buddy. See you next week. See you next week, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.